What's good, everyone? This is Misfit, and this is a brand new episode of Facing Issues, a podcast about the art and science of music production. And today, my very special guest is the one and only Rohaan. Round of applause. What's good, man? Thank
Yeah,
you for joining
everything's
me.
yeah, absolutely, man, and yeah, thank you for having me. And everything's good, man. I'm actually heading out to LA tomorrow, so
Oh, nice.
sort of just like having a prep day, and yeah, all is well. How are
That's
you?
awesome. Are you actually going back on tour or just like for a small music trip?
Just a show. I'm playing Exchange on
Nice.
Friday with Gentlemen's Club, and
Ooh,
then I'm there till Monday, and then I come home.
nice. Yeah, so it's like almost like a 2 days, 3 days trip.
Hmm.
Awesome. All right, so I actually wanted you to be a guest on the podcast for many reasons, but the most important one is that I consider you one of the most versatile producers I know. And one of the things that I appreciate the most in your production is the warm feeling you manage to give to your low end, your basses, and especially when you make drum and bass, especially in the Reese basses. So, like my very first question is, do you make your basses and in specifically your Reeses on Ableton's built-in synths like Operator, or do you enjoy using other VST like Serum or Faceplan?
Yeah, man. So actually, I've been using the same Reese in my intros ever since I started making drum and bass,
Nice.
uh, and it's just an operator, and it's just like I think it's two saw waves and a sine wave, just stock, and then going through a bunch of saturators. And what I do is like let's say I saturate it, I will then add an EQ,
Okay.
and then I'll saturate again, and then I'm always like shaping, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
edit, shape, edit, shape, edit, shape, some chorus, some phaser in the top end to get it nice and movie. So what I try and do, and I did this with Musket as well, is I'll create a lot of movement in the top end, and then I'll bring a cut off and cut it down. So then
Nice.
let's say at the end of like 8 bars, when the filter opens up, it's got all that movement there to make it exciting. So that's essentially like what I do each time,
Do you
basically.
actually also have buses or just like send routed to your Rees, or do you have everything like on the mixer, the single mixer chain?
Yeah, everything's on the same because I use Ableton, so it's just like everything's on there. Then I'll bus it out to a like a bass bus,
Yeah.
and that'll usually be side chained and clipped, and
Okay.
then that then goes to the master.
Nice. Like, dude, I'm on FL, so I cannot really actually understand the power of Operator, but I swear every producer who is in Ableton always tell me, yo, you gotta try Operator. You gotta try Ableton just for Operator alone. So it's gotta be really good, right?
It's basically Serum. Like it is,
Okay.
you can pretty much do everything you can in Serum. You've got the three oscillators. You've got four oscillators actually, and you can just really get quite into it. Like Chi, for example, he uses operator. I don't know if he still does, but because I'm Bitwig now, but he did
Yeah.
very much just use operator. So yeah, it's super powerful, and it's quite a simple synth, really.
Do you find yourself comfortable with that, very basic and I would even say like a bit boring interface, or you still like that used to that and you pretty much like know that like well. Do you like the interface of Operator? I don't know, like it's
Yeah. So I actually things like Serum, I do use Serum, but I don't enjoy using it. I don't like the interface because I don't like
really
my stuff. Yeah, I don't like my stuff to look like Serum. I enjoy the
okay.
clean look, yeah, of Ableton. Like I enjoy it just being clean, simple because what's going on in here is like the way I make music is quite visual. So if the
Okay.
synth I'm looking at is visual, like Serum,
Oh,
I don't make stuff
okay.
that in my head looks like Serum because like
Okay. No,
does
that
that
makes
make sense?
sense.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
actually makes like sense. Like I think that like I was talking to Nightpunk and like he visualizes music like through colors. There's like a specific name. I think it's like I don't remember the
Yeah,
proper name of
synesthesia.
exactly. And that actually, on one hand, it blew my mind, and on the other, like that made completely sense to me. Like
Mm.
if you're able to visualize your music and then replicate that in the DAW, that's you're pretty much done. Like it's so
Mm.
easy, right? Then
Yeah, that's it. And it's just about trying to it's about workflow at that point. How do I actually get what's in here out? And if there's nothing in here, how do I then inspire that?
yeah, yeah, and also like speaking about like back to operator and like Reese bases in general. I mean, one of the if we were like approaching I would say advanced Reese design, one of the most important things is like harmonic distortion. So
Mm.
like how do you go about that? Like, do you have any interesting techniques to share, or your personal ones, if you wanna share with us?
What in terms of distortion?
In terms of like harmonic distortion to bring out the character of the bass and of the signs, if you're using signs, or of the sound
Yeah.
itself.
Well, I've actually been using the multiband compressor a lot, which obviously I'm not distorting there. But I use the multiband compressor a lot, and I've just been honestly, the setting Blues Driver in Trash
Oh
2
yeah. Oh yeah.
is just kind of I have roots that I like to root my sound, and I kind of pretty much stick to that. Um, what I'll do is I'll have an EQ with like some interesting peaks
Okay.
in it,
Yeah.
and I'll just find those weird. I know it kind of creates like a vowely sound
Yeah. So
in the
you're pretty
bass.
much boosting those specific harmonics, and then you compress instead of distort them, right? Am I getting right?
Yeah, it totally depends. Like I might at that point add a multiband compressor, or I
Yeah.
might actually distort it and then multiband
Yeah.
compress, then really like squish those down. So yeah, it just depends per sound. There's not really a lot of 1 + 1 = 2. It's more
Yeah.
so like I just kind of throw loads of shit at the wall, and I genuinely use Trash 2 multiband compressor, EQing peaks. I use a phaser in the top end of my bass all the time.
Yeah.
I create a chain with like a really wide chorus, and then my bass will be so mono. So then
Yeah.
even on a system, it's all good. It's just stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And do you happen to also like, are you one of the are you a fan of having a separate sub for your Reese bases, or do you prefer to have everything on like the same patch and on the same mixer channel?
But only if it's needed.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, if it's needed, I'll create a separate patch, and I'll literally just EQ it right down so it's just the rumble of the
Yeah.
sub.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel sometimes, creating a separate sub for Reese base doesn't make justice to the main one, to the character of the top end. So sometimes
Mm,
it sounds like unnatural. So yeah, I'm more a fan of like all in one. But again, as you
mm.
said, it depends on the case, right? So you mentioned Trash 2 for distortion, right? Do you also like happen to use different type of like other distortion plugins built in Ableton distortion? Like I've been hearing like good things about amp in Ableton.
Yeah, amp's great. So if you ever hear like an electric guitar, there's a track that Matzo and I are creating
Uh-huh.
right now, and there's an electric guitar in it. It's actually just a sine wave and amp. That's it.
Nice. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
So it's just
crazy.
so fucking simple. But it really, it's like it gives it obviously, and then we did process it afterwards, a bit of reverb, again, a bit of chorus, just giving it a bit more movement. But it sounds pretty believable, and because you can add like a little attack at the start, which sounds like the finger hitting the.
Yeah.
You can sort of emulate these things.
If you have other plugins in terms of or other distortion plugins that you've been enjoying using, like
Oh
except
yeah,
of Trash 2.
Rift.
Oh, bro, yeah. Everyone told me that, and I do have Rift. I think it's insane. It's insane.
You can
It's
just put anything into it, and then
right,
just randomize the
right.
preset, and just see what comes up,
Yeah,
which I absolutely love.
yeah. Cool thing is also like having like a huge like 1632 bar of like literally anything, and start recording and export the whole thing, keep on randomizing. And I can guarantee that at least one tiny bit of that huge export is going to be huge, insane, so unique. That yeah, Rift honestly is very good. So and when it comes like on the other hand, when it comes to processing, do you have any like specific like multi-band compression plugins that you're using? Because I remember you mentioned that multi-band compression is a huge thing in your mixes.
Yeah, honestly, it's the multiband compressor, the built-in Ableton.
Oh, really?
I've started to use the Fuse compressor from Minimal Audio
Okay.
because you'll probably recognize. So in a lot of, I'm just opening Ableton on my side, so I can actually just have a look. But you'll probably recognize as well in a lot of my music, it's not as loud as other drum and bass songs. So let's say next to like a Simula song, where his is like bricked out,
Hmm.
mine would be a lot more dynamic, and so I don't necessarily slam a lot of my music, and you'll notice it's quite um, dynamic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But yeah, honestly, it's like a lot of EQing, a lot of saturation using the stock saturator. I'll use the multiband, yeah, compressor, but specifically on the multiband compressor preset, and I always edit from there. It's essentially just boosting all frequencies by 6 dB
Okay.
into the compressor, and then from there I can then shape. But it's really
Okay.
powerful, and also
Okay.
fuse compressors freaking awesome.
Yeah, I have to try that one too. Like, dude, honestly, I think that stock, it's like a bit unrelated, but I think that like stock Ableton plugins are like unmatched. They're insane.
Mm.
Like that's probably one of the main reasons why people and I should actually switch to Ableton, but I'm a bit lazy.
Everything has its strengths though. Like let's look at Logic. Logic has the best reverb and delay designer
Yeah,
built in. It's
that is
unbelievable.
true. That is
Well,
true.
and that has its strengths. FL Studio, I love the freedom within FL Studio. You've got
Yeah.
things like Harmor. You've got the what is it, 3XO, the three synthy thing,
Yeah,
the three
super simple but
oscillator.
super effective. I know Lex City
Yeah,
pretty much makes everything in
yeah,
3x oscillator. That's
and
crazy. That's crazy.
so does as well.
Really? But wait,
Yeah,
is he on FL?
yeah,
That's crazy. So he makes everything with 3x oscillator. That's crazy.
yeah. Do you want to
That's
know the
crazy.
craziest thing?
Yo,
Which I
what?
actually have never heard before, and it blew my mind. I didn't know there was something new like that could blow my mind. All of his music has been created in one project. He has one FL Studio project that is like 50 minutes long, and it's like, say if this is the project, say if my screen is the project, that's like I don't know, one of
What?
his tracks, and there'll be a little gap, and his next track is where he'll start it. Next track,
What?
next track.
But like, I guess
It's
like
fucking-
I guess the reason is because he has like an already made template, at least like for a mix for the mixer. Am I wrong? Or like I cannot see the
It's
pros.
genius.
Yeah, actually, my next question is, very much related to the previous one, but it's still a bit different. So, you've been telling me that, and I do agree that your music is very dynamic. When it comes to actually specifically mixing grease bases, sometimes that can be like a very like they can be a pain in the ass to mix and to control. So, in order to control them, make them warm and perceivable, but still maintain the dynamic, do you actually have techniques when it comes to EQ them to achieve everything?
Yeah, biggest thing is the smile curve. So just taking a little bit out of the low mids. Like if I pull up, um, like let's say in terms of frequency range, where have I got it? I usually EQ out like 200 hertz to 400 hertz, and I'll just have like a little sort of like basin, this like a little smile curve in there, just to alleviate that pressure. And sometimes I'll even get an EQ to do that. So then
Yeah,
the sub bass is here, and the rest of it's here. But what
yeah.
I'm doing is I'm leaving room for the entirety of the rest of the track.
Oh, and that like smile EQ, is it dynamic or just like a simple curve?
Just simple curve, not dynamic.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Like I've got it in my book from when I show people. It's literally just like that's the curve. Literally
That's
just do that.
nice. Yeah, that's like a tiny bell, I would say. Yeah,
But
that's
it depends
nice.
on what it is, because
Of
sometimes
course.
actually you'll realize you need to take more out. And when I do a lot of one-to-ones, like on my Patreon or through other websites, I always come to that with most people. I'm like, look, you're probably monitoring on either headphones or small speakers
Yeah,
because your subs, the mid range is too loud. So what you're
yeah,
doing there is you're hearing it. So you're perceiving, okay, my track is bassy. Whereas if you reduce that, it gets rid of the pressure. You don't necessarily hear that your
yeah,
track is subby,
yeah,
but I guarantee just analyze it. Look, is there a sub? Okay,
yeah,
you're good.
yeah.
Um, so a lot of people leave that in there and don't really acknowledge it because it's their brain acknowledging there is a sub. Whereas when
Yeah.
you alleviate that pressure, it's just there's so much clarity in the song.
Absolutely. Also, like I think that that specific area is like generally the harsh area for every genre in music, and I feel that, as you said, controlling that
Mm.
area is going to um, like make everything else brighter and more like warmer also. So, like, I have a flash question because I don't want to forget about that, and I always ask this type of question to all the guests in the podcast. And what is an underrated plugin that you wish everyone knew about?
Well, originally I would have said SignPlant a few years ago, but everybody knows SignPlant.
Yeah.
What do I use a lot? Actually, one thing that I think is underrated. So in Ableton, you have the auto pan,
Yeah.
which goes left to right like this,
Yeah.
and you can increase the amount and also the speed. So you can be like,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, whoa. What you can do is you can change the phase. So let's say you've got the left speaker doing this and the right speaker doing this, obviously that's left and right.
Yeah.
If you change the phase so it does this, it's now a volume automation.
Yeah. Like another phone,
And
right?
yeah, and you can actually then just create these amazing, like imagine having chords that then all of a sudden go like, whoop,
Yeah.
whoop, whoop. And that's something that whenever I show people, because they usually go a much longer route, but in Ableton, that is something that I don't really think people utilize as much, and it's great. All you've got to do is change the phase from like 180 to 360 or zero,
Nice.
and boom.
I feel you use like more like Ableton stock plugins than third-party plugins, right?
Yeah, definitely. I just want it to be, I want to get the idea out as best as I can. I do resample and sample quite a lot as well because I've been making sample packs now for just years. So I just have like thousands of things that I dig into. But if I look around so I literally use, to be fair, Reactor is really good in Reactor.
Yeah.
I have something called TRK. Let's see what it's called. I have the Monarch in Reactor is amazing.
Okay.
And the TRK-01, those two I'd say are, I was going to say underrated, but maybe it's just because I don't necessarily
I think
speak
they
about
are.
them.
I think they are because they've been around for years and still
Mm,
people don't talk about them that much as they should, I
mm,
think. They're honestly very good plugins.
massively. And also there's the Melda auto pitch.
Oh,
Is just
of course. The whole Melda bundle is insane, let's be real.
is insane. I was with Matzo the other day, and he was using the Melda convolution. I just had no idea the complexity of it. It's insane. Like
Yeah,
it's just insane, and we create some like crazy stuff with it.
dude, that's insane. And I think that it's still a part of the free bundle, right?
I think so, yeah, because I've only got the free bundle, so I'll double check.
I actually wanted to ask another question regarding your music. And what would you say is your most complex song that you ever made? Like not only in terms of, sound design, but most in terms of also like arrangement and the time you put into to craft everything perfectly.
It's my remix for Noisia.
Oh, really? Do you
It
consider?
just one of like that was a battle. Like it's a whole journey, man. Like you've got the intro that goes into an intro, which goes into a build, which goes into the massive section, which goes into like a rolling section. Then it has all. That was massive. That
You,
was
you,
massive.
you know
Gone.
that when you're remixing Nausea, you cannot like, take the safe route. You gotta go crazy, right?
Well, that's it. And I think what's important though is ultimately just to do whatever sounds good to you and try and not think
True.
about who it is that you're doing it for. Because that was my problem at first. I tried to make it sound like what I thought they wanted to hear. And then
Oh, okay, yeah.
Nick came back to me and was like, just we're asking you because you do whatever it is that you do. So just do whatever it is that you do. But yeah, that was one hell of a thing. And they gave me some really good advice on just contrast because it was very melodic building to the drop and the drop was melodic. So he's like, he's like, you've said one sentence and then you say the exact same sentence again. Try and say something different. So through going through that process again, I was able to have something quite atonal build up to the drop and then it be melodic. And it
Okay.
just helped with the contrast a little bit.
So you were able to also like have a bit of back and forth with them to actually, let them hear the first draft of the remix. So because I think that like, when you're remixing something, it's important to like be you, but also to accept any kind of criticism and ideas from the original producers of the song, because I feel that a remix should be like the cherry on top, in my opinion, of the original song. So I think that's cool that they help you actually focus on some specific elements of the song. You know, we're actually approaching the end of this podcast, and so my final question is, could you name 3 songs that, in your opinion, are amazing, are unique? That could be either for mixing, mastering, sound design, arrangement, everything.
100%. And the first thing that comes to mind, and I always say this, is there is an artist called Ludwig AF, and he did a remix of an indie song by this indie band called Pip Blom, and it blew my mind. I'd never heard of Pip Blom or him before, and I think it either came up on my radio or Isaac from Duke and Jones showed me. It was one or the two, and I just never heard anything like that before. So listen to the original Pip Blom by Pip Blom first. It's listen to the original first. It's Pip Blom, Keep It Together,
I'm trying
and
to
then go and
right
listen.
now.
Then listen to the Ludwig AF under like remix.
Okay, and I'm gonna listen. Actually, I want to listen that to. I don't want to spoil this to the listener of the podcast. I want them to actually go listen to that. So I'm gonna listen to this afterwards, because I mean I'm actually very much stoked. So and like, what are the other 2 songs?
So is this music that has, so we've got that song. There is also an artist called Kouros, so Couros.
I think I've heard of him.
His track Circles was really pretty wild when I first heard it. It kind of it has this emotion to it, and it's
okay.
Really impressive. Really fucking impressive, man.
I'm writing it down.
And then I'd probably say, God, there's so many, but
oh yeah,
I reckon the next track would be in between. Oh no, right. This is undeniably. Have you heard of Jerry Folk?
Of course, of course.
Dotted Red by Jerry Folk.
Is it like an old song, like old, relatively old?
Oh well, 2021.
Yeah, I saw that right now. Dude, Jerry Folk is honestly still underrated. He should be. I mean, he is like very well known, but I think he should be like even more. You know, I don't know. It should be huge, because honestly, he's been around for so long, and I think he's like so good.
He's very good at doing like A B A B A C B.
Yeah,
you know, he's very good at like
that rhymes. Yeah, you're very right, dude. What else? Like, it's been honestly one of my favorite like podcasts and interviews on season 1, and dude, thank you so much for joining me again. And I hope you had a good time. And I'm wishing you all the best for these upcoming gigs. And
thank you very much, man.
Thank you so much. And I'll hopefully see you around at some point in the next few months, bro.
Yeah, definitely. I might be going to ADE as well. So if you're there,
nice.
Maybe see you there. But yeah, definitely, man. Hopefully, and thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you, bro.